All right, let's talk about tops and how tops should fit you. So we think about a perfect top. This encompasses t-shirts, polos, jackets, etc. The first thing that you're going to look at is the shoulder seam. Okay, so the shoulder seam is this little part right through here. So the shoulder seam connects the sleeve to the body, basically. The next thing that we're going to look at is the overall length. Okay, so you can see the end of this, or the hem of the shirt there, and then the sleeve length, so where the shirt sleeve ends, and then of course the fit or the cut, which just, as you know, means how wide does the thing fit. Okay, so the length, if we're looking at that first, length should end right around the middle of the groin, right? So we don't want to be down here. We don't want to have, you know, box with legs sticking out of it look, but we don't want to be anywhere near the belt loops either. We don't want to be right at or above the belt loop. We want to usually be somewhere around that middle of the groin point. The sleeve should end right at the hinge of that wrist, right? So usually that fat part of the hand right before it kind of turns out right here, right across this little part. Okay, so that gives you just enough room so if you extend your arm out, you're not going to like catch on anything, but it's also not going to be too short. The shoulder seam, this right here, should end right at the edge of your shoulder bone. Okay, so the shoulder bone, you can kind of follow your collarbone out and you'll reach this point on your arm. That's kind of a little meaty over here, and then over here it's a little bony. I know that's kind of a weird look, but this shoulder seam right here on this shirt, if you can see it, this ends right at the shoulder bone where there's a little bit of bone, and then over here is meat. And if I'm looking at this straight on, it's right at the shoulder drop off, right? So it's like shoulder comes out and then just drops off. Give or take a little, but that's exactly where that should be. So you can see here, it's right there, right before that shoulder drops off. Okay, this will usually tell you if you have the right size. If this seam is over here, usually you need to go up a size. If it's over here, you usually need to go down a size. Because what happens if this seam is over here, well, then the sleeve length, you know, is going to be too long. Think about it, right? So we move the sleeve all the way down, sleeve length's going to be here, and then shirt length's going to be here too. So that'll give you a lot of that. Chest and torso, be able to grab a pinch, not a handful. This should follow the shape of your body. So again, this doesn't matter if you are very large in the midsection or if you're very skinny in the midsection. We are scaling it proportionately, right? So we are going to where we can grab a pinch but not a whole handful. Ideally, it is contouring enough to your body right here so it doesn't look boxy and there's no excessive fabric, right? So we're just trying to get it to where it's not squeezing. Then, of course, there's no strain on the buttons here, right? So there's no tension, there's no pulling. You can see here there's no tension across the chest, across the arms, or the buttons there. Nothing's pulling. It's the same thing for polos and t-shirts, the same exact thing. So we're looking at the sleeve length, or excuse me, the shoulder seam right there, done. The fit or the cut should conform to the body. We can grab a whole, a pinch, but not a whole handful. Sleeve or shirt length, right, should be middle of the groin. So again, we can see that here. And mid-groin, all of these you can give or take an inch, right? So there's a little bit of a margin of error, but this is just giving you some general principles. The only change here is just going to be the sleeve length. Where that should fall on short sleeves, so short sleeve button downs, polos, tees, is right where the tricep and the bicep intersect. So usually this is kind of just the middle of the arm, right? The middle of the bicep. The tricep and the bicep intersect right there. And so therefore that is the largest part of your arm. The most visual or most volume around your arm is where your tricep and bicep intersect. So that's going to help you fill out the sleeve of the shirt a little bit more and thus look buffer. So that's just the only change that you would make with short sleeves. But you can see how whether it's a long sleeve, a short sleeve button down, a polo, a t-shirt, it doesn't matter. The same principles still apply. We're trying to just give you frameworks and principles that are timeless, and so you can always understand how something should fit, how something should look, regardless of whether it's a t-shirt or some other different type of shirt. So common ones that you're going to run into here. So you have classic, which is just going to be that kind of classic fit all the way through the shirt. Slim fit, which is going to give you a little bit more of a cutout, and then extra slim, which is going to be the most slim. So we talked about this a little bit before, but again, just scale this proportionately. So if you put on a classic fit shirt and you're like, wow, it's really baggy. Okay, go to a slim. Wow, it's really baggy. Go to an extra slim. Conversely, you can do the same thing. You can go from an extra slim to a classic if it's too tight. So remember that we're just talking about width. So if something is just, you see the buttons pulling here, you see some tension across the chest, might behoove you to go up to a slim. So when we're looking at shirts, you'll see that a lot of manufacturers have these different fits. It's just a a really good easy tip is shop from brands that have a lot of different fits. One of my favorite hacks is just going to places that offer anywhere from 3 to 6 different fits, because you are more than likely going to find something that works, right? And so in this case, you can see we have 3 different fits and all of these different sizes. Chances are we're going to find something that works for us here. So you can see how that works. That'll be usually listed right next to the size section of the shirt. And so this could be a polo. This could be typically, you know, they don't do it for t-shirts, but you know, you can have fits for t-shirts too as well. But that's where you're going to see it. Okay, so just on our last little point on tops here, we should probably talk about how a suit jacket should fit or a blazer should fit. Really, it's fairly similar to how everything else should fit, right? The shoulder seam should be right in line with that shoulder bone, right at that drop-off point. It shouldn't be too high, because then you're going to see your natural shoulder protruding out, and then you get this weird effect where you have like shoulder padding and then natural shoulder, and it looks very strange. So really, when you're putting it on, you want to make sure that you're not constricted, but at the same time, it's a suit jacket. So don't start doing jumping jacks and, you know, push-ups and all that. It will be fairly constricting when you compare it to something like your workout t-shirt. So just know that. Look at the shoulder seam. Then through the torso, we want to have that same curvature through here following the body, that same little waist suppression. You want to be able to close the jacket without having that button pull. So no tension through here, no tension through the arms. Jacket length should end, usually you want it just covering your butt, and you want to make sure that it's between that first and that second thumb knuckle, somewhere in there. Just easy guidelines, right? Sleeve length. So for these ones, you want to end about 1/4 of an inch or so right above that wrist break, right? That hinge in the wrist. That'll give you just a bit of cuff showing through there. All right. So that's just the general principles of it. So, of how a suit jacket should fit. And again, you can see that many manufacturers will offer different fits of these. So you have a classic fit, slim fit, and there's plenty of brands that will offer extra slim fit too as well. Keep in mind that the size stays the same. So we can do a 40 regular in a classic fit, or we can do it in a slim fit. Pop quiz time, what changes? Nothing other than the width of the item. Okay, so it goes from here to something like here. That's a drastic example, but that's exactly what happens, right? So you're narrowing the torso in. Here's an example of something that doesn't fit too well, a suit jacket that doesn't fit too well, right? So first up, spot that overall we're seeing just a size issue. So you can see here that we have the shoulder, but then you can see the shoulder padding right through here, kind of like what I had described before, how you can see that actual shoulder there. That should be in line with the actual shoulder, right? We can also see all of this tension through the arms through here, right? So we looked at the shoulder, we can see all the tension through the arms, we can see this button pulling, we can see that the jacket is much, much higher than that first thumb knuckle, and that we'd probably see part of his butt showing, and then that we're about 1 inch, maybe even 1.25 inches higher than we need to be, probably about 1 inch or so from where that should be. In all reality, he could have fixed this entire thing by going up 1 size. So do you see here how it's not just an issue where it's too tight through the midsection, it's too tight everywhere. And so for that, we would change the size, not just changing the fit, because everything is too tight, not just one area. And that, again, is the difference between size and fit. Okay.